7. Am I obligated to have an affirmative action plan?
Possibly. Affirmative action plans aren't required of all employers. However, employers and subcontractors who enter into contracts with the federal government and certain public sector employers such as community colleges and school districts are required to have such plans. In addition, affirmative action obligations may be imposed on companies as part of a court-approved agreement, for example, following the finding of employment discrimination in a class action lawsuit. Finally, companies may voluntarily elect to have affirmative action plans in an effort to correct imbalances against protected classes in traditionally segregated job categories. More specifically, government contractors and subcontractors with 50 or more employees and contracts of $50,000 or more are prohibited from discriminating against any employee or applicant for employment on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. These employers are required to have a written plan and to take affirmative efforts in employment and promotions so that minorities and women will be employed at all levels in the workforce. Affirmative action imposes on employers the duty to take positive steps to identify discrimination against protected classes and to improve work opportunities for women and minorities. Affirmative action, as its name implies, requires a company to proactively reach out to qualified members of groups that were formerly excluded from hiring and promotional opportunities. The concept is fairly simple. Unless companies aggressively combat the effects of unintended discrimination, the status quo will remain, and protected groups of employees will continue to be excluded from equal employment opportunities. The mechanics of affirmative action plans are complicated and go well beyond the scope of this book. However, suffice it to say that one of the key challenges in any company's affirmative action plan is quantifying the results of its outreach efforts. That, in turn, involves determining areas of workforce underrepresentation via a current workforce analysis, geographic labor force analysis by race and sex, a corrective action plan with goals and timetables for correcting any underutilization, and a self-audit system. Tell me more. If your company already has or needs to develop an affirmative action plan, chances are that you'll retain the services of a law firm or qualified consulting firm. One of the most common challenges you'll face on a day-to-day basis, however, will lie in your applicant flow log. Under federal equal opportunity and affirmative action laws as well as the laws of many states, companies are obligated to maintain personnel activity data, including data on the race and sex of applicants. The reason for this is that government audits and discrimination investigations partially focus on gathering information on all applicants who have applied for positions and comparing those flow statistics to current workforce demographics. In addition, employers must also analyze these applicant flow statistics for adverse impact. Adverse impact occurs when the selection rate for any protected group is less than 80% of the rate of selection for the group with the highest selection rate, for example, white males. A protected group or class is any group of people who are protected by the law against discrimination, for example, women and minorities. Defining what is an applicant, therefore, takes on critical importance in cases of audits and investigations. The AUC doesn't help much here. Historically, federal enforcement agencies like the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, (EOC), and Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, (OFCP), have looked to the EOC's uniform guidelines on employee selection procedures for a definition. The concept of an applicant is that of a person who has indicated an interest in being considered for hiring, promotion, or other employment opportunities. This interest might be expressed by completing an application form or might be expressed orally, depending on the employer's practice. Furthermore, in September 1997, the OFCP stated that whether an individual will be considered an applicant turns on the employee selection procedures designed and utilized by the contractor. This definition serves employers well because the newer interpretation has generally said, look to the employer's definition of an applicant when determining applicant flow statistics. On the other hand, these definitions are susceptible to review and redefinition over time. As a matter of fact, in the absence of an employer's defining just who is an applicant, courts may use their own discretion in formulating a definition. Of course, that's bad for employers because mass mailings, online resume dissemination, internet job database retrieval, and the like all expand the pool of candidates to a point of distortion. Therefore, your best bet is to define an applicant in writing and to apply that definition on a consistent basis. For example, you might define an applicant as an individual who applies in person by completing an official company employment application or by delivering a resume and thus whose race and sex may be determined. You can also add wording to specify that an applicant is also an individual who is interviewed by an authorized company representative.